Good morning, Belton High School. I'm Brooke Truman, and you're watching Cutlass TV News. This year's prom will take place on April 17th. For details about the prom and what attendees can expect, here's America's Counts, Josh Middlestat, Dante Miller, and myself. Principal Mr. Clark describes the motivations behind planning the prom in a challenging year and what students can expect.
What we're hoping is to provide an alternative to the traditional prom that students could be excited about. We recognize that a number of students have already made arrangements for backyard proms, and we don't want to discourage any of that. At the same time, we want those students that want to be a part of the BHS model for prom in 2021 to feel comfortable and feel safe, and at the same time feel like they've had an activity that's been provided them. And we recognize and acknowledge there's all sorts of challenges with an outdoor activity in April. There's the opportunity for rain, the possibility of temperature being a challenge, but nonetheless we want to provide something for those that are looking for an opportunity to participate. The idea is that we would have students sign up by pods or by bubbles, and initially we had thought about bubbles of 8 to 10. That number's actually changed to 6. And then students that do sign up, if they're larger groups, they will have an opportunity to request adjacent table. You know, I'm in bubble 1 and my friends are in bubble 7. Could we have an adjacent table? And bottom line is, students would have an area that would be designated for them. I know that there are some organizations, and I'll just name one, SAD, who is participating or planning on providing some activities where students could win prizes. And again, you travel in your bubble and have an opportunity to do that as well. Again, this won't be for everyone, and we recognize that there may be some that will opt out, but we want to provide the BHS version of Prom 2021. And I just celebrate the input that we gathered from students, the conversations that we've had, and the staff, namely our sponsors in Miss Milner and Miss Gibson, for the behind-the-scenes work that they're doing to make this possible.
BHS Prom is being held at Southwick Stadium on April 17th. Junior class sponsor Mrs. Gibson describes the activities students can participate in and the itinerary for those attending.
So our theme is Midnight in the Garden, which is fitting since the prom starts at 7:30 and goes till 10 and will be under the stadium lights. So we're going to have a DJ. There'll be a dessert bar at each table. There'll be games, like board games and things like that, available at the tables. There'll be a designated professional photo time for each table, which we're calling bubbles. There'll be carnival-type games that are offered by SAD, where you can win some prizes. And there'll be the crowning of the prom king. So students will arrive and give their tickets. Make sure you arrive with your guest if your guest is not a junior or senior. Remember that guests are only BHS students. No one from the outside can attend, unfortunately. So students will go to their assigned table, which we're calling bubbles, and they will dance and hang out, play games. They'll have a designated time, different times to go over and take pictures and play the SAD games. Not SAD but Students Against Destructive Decisions games. And then at 9 o'clock there'll be a crowning, and parents will be able to come attend that and sit in the stadium if they would like to. But it's just a time for you guys to come and dance around with each other. You can choose who your adjacent bubbles are going to be, so who's kind of around you, and just socially distanced as much as we can, but still have a great time. We're so glad that we get to have a prom and that we're in this position where we feel comfortable with some guidelines with mask wearing and socially distancing to be able to offer you a time to dress up and take pictures and dance and just hang out and have a good time. So I'm really excited that we get to offer this opportunity for you guys.
For America's Counts, Josh Middlestat and Dante Miller, I'm Brooke Truman with Cutlass TV News. DECA Nationals will take place virtually towards the end of April, and BHS has 3 students who have advanced in competition. Here's Mason Fulton, Tyler Fulton, and Aubrey Fricky with the story.
Tygan Prince talks about what DECA is and what he expects for competing.
DECA helps you learn things in the business world as well as like career development. I when I first joined, I didn't really know what it was, but I was glad I joined now, looking back on it, and I know that going to like my college years and then after that into my professional career, that I'll be well suited for the business world. Through hard work, we also were very good on writing our paper and made sure that it was the best that we could do and put our best effort into it, as well as showing up to our competitions and really putting 100% effort into our videos. We're working on a presentation right now to present to judges on what we did in the school store, and we're kind of just getting the jitters out of our presentation, and hopefully we'll be able to do good in the.
Jacob Zamora discusses how he made nationals and how he's preparing.
So we're competing entrepreneurship in school business enterprise. We wrote a paper that got to the nationals. It's kind of nerve-wracking sometimes, which is why we do the dry runs. This is going to be our actual first live presentation of the year because it's all been recorded by Zoom. But we are preparing by just doing mock presentations. We're going to be competing with judges on Zoom. So we are just doing some dry runs to figure out how to do it. Some information. So we compete in, there's role plays where you act as, let's say, an entrepreneurship going through a challenge that a mock business is having. Or you can write a paper. The paper is pretty big, but you just write over a topic regarding a topic in DECA.
With Aubrey Fricke and Tyler Fulton, I'm Mason Fulton with Cutlass TV News.
Many students will participate in test day at BHS throughout April. Austin Farrow, Brittany Jackson, and Caleb Cormanic have the story.
Asher Bennett talks about the ACT and how he's preparing.
I've been practicing a lot and using practice tests online, and then the ACT website has a lot of helpful information, and I've been using the ACT book. The ACT is a standardized test that gives you a scaled score for colleges to look at, mainly for entry to get into colleges and for college readiness. For this one coming up, I want to get a 26 on this ACT so I can get a better baseline to begin over the summer and improve from there. Just practice a lot. Use the practice questions, practice tests, use all of that resources, and then Ms. Slinker has ACT practice books that I would get from her.
Ms. Cindy Hay talks about upcoming tests this month and how to prepare.
This week on Thursday, we're giving the ASVAB, and that's the Armed Services Aptitude Battery. And those are to sophomores. And so that's one test. And then next Tuesday, we're giving either the ACT or the ACT work keys, and that's to our juniors. So there are 3 tests. So the ASVAB, or the Armed Services Aptitude Battery, is given to sophomores. And, you know, our Belton kids have a lot of choices, and we know that. Some kids will go to college, some kids will jump into the workforce, some will join the military. So we try to give them lots of opportunity to prepare for those. So the ASVAB, even though it is preparing kids to enter the military, it also good for kids heading to college, because there's a component to it which is a career inventory. So it's going to help them kind of decide maybe what career that would fit for them. It's an aptitude test, so it also helps them decide what they're good at or what they might be good at or easy to learn, because it's a timed test. There are 8 subtests, and it's a time test, just like it would be for the ACT or the SAT. So all sophomores take the ASVAB, and then they'll get the results back that kind of help them decide maybe a career path or strengths or weaknesses that they need. I also would say that kids that are interested in the military, it's a way for them to kind of practice taking the ASVAB. The ASVAB scores are only good for 2 years. So if you take it as a sophomore, the military will never see your scores. And if you want to try for the military, you can take it later on. And the scores for the military, the ASVAB will let you know what branch of service you can join, and then what you can actually do in the military when you take the ASVAB. So it's a way to kind of figure out what you qualify for. And then on Tuesday, we give the ACT or the ACT work keys. The ACT stands for American College Testing, and a lot of kids have heard of it. It's a test that most colleges use as an entrance exam. So kids take it, and there are 4 subtests. There's English, there's math, there's science, and there's reading. And so colleges look at your score to decide if you can come to school, if you qualify to come, or if there's scholarships, or if there's certain classes you have to take when you get there, or programs that you can qualify for. So the ACT, again, we want all of our juniors to take it unless they're taking the ACT Work Keys, which is a test that's designed to kind of assess where your employability skills are at. And there are only 3 tests for that. And so they really want to see if kids are heading to the workforce, if they're prepared for that. We want kids to start preparing years and years ago. So there's no way to really study for a test. The goal is for you to know the material. So we want to say when you're taking that math class in 8th grade year or 9th grade or whenever, your goal is not necessarily to score a certain grade. I mean, kids, we talk about grades and how important they are, but really a grade is a reflection of what you know and understand. And so when kids are in classes, specifically core classes, we want them not only to make a good grade and shoot for making a good grade, but really shoot for understanding. So that when they take something like an ASVAB or ACT Work Keys or SAT for that matter, or any of the standardized tests, we want them to know the material. So beginning to understand the material is important. The other thing is we want you to get a lot of rest the night before. We want you to eat a good breakfast. We want you to have lots of water in your system, and just to think really positively that you're going to know some answers, and some answers you're not going to know. And just because you don't know all the answers, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do well on the test. So just go in with a really positive attitude. If you were not going to take it at Belton High School, when we pay for it, it can cost you up to $50 to take it. So it's a free way for students to take the ACT. The ASVAB, you can take free of charge through a military recruiter's office. But if we offer it to students during the daytime, we have more kids that'll take advantage of that. So we think it's well worth the time away from the core classes and the classes that kids are taking through the day to sit down and take a chance at taking the ACT, SAT, ASVAB, anything we give students during the day. We think it's a wonderful opportunity for them to take it.
With Austin Farrow, Caleb Kormanik, and Brittany Jackson, I'm Mason Fulton with Cutlass TV News.
Thanks for watching. Tune in next time, and as always, Carpe Diem.